Hello my beautiful people, hello any race fans out there, how y'all doing, how y'all be? I am the Big Ticket here to talk to you about all things motorsports and well maybe not all things motorsports, but this episode is going to be kind of shortened down basically. It's going to be real, narrow on the topics that I talk about. There's going to be a few bites of other stuff that comes along the way, but it's mainly just going to be the Sakhir GP, and we're also going to be talking a little bit about Rally Monza. Those are the two big things that just finished, getting wrapped up. And might be also going to be talking about Audi, as well as some quick news coming out of Formula One as well. That seems to be about it. I was supposed to talk about the esports champions and all that stuff that had happened, but I'm not going to. So there you go. That answers that. If you enjoyed this episode and if you enjoyed this show, be sure to rate it 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever you choose to listen. And also, if you want to check out the video version, head on over to youtube.com. You can see my pretty face and all the things that I like to talk about. And on there, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that I plan on putting on there as well that I haven't necessarily put into effect, but they're recorded, they're still being edited and all that, but it's coming. It's coming. All that stuff is going to get done in due time. Bear with me. Just head over there and subscribe, man. You'll enjoy. Starting off straight up, we're gonna start off with with Rally Monza. Okay, we're gonna start off with Rally Monza simply because Seb Ogier has now became 7-time world champion. 7-time world champion with Toyota, and this is now the third different manufacturer that he has become champion with. That's pretty impressive. I think he's one of the few people to actually get that done. Or he might be the only person to get that done, whatever the case. But he's definitely someone that, he's a legend in the rally world. He's a legend in the rally world, and I personally believe that, and I stick with that 100%. Sebastien Ogier, he is one of those people that I think is one of the most remarkable drivers on the planet, along with, Sebastian Loeb, and those kinds of people. Those are the people that I really think are people at the top of the level. They could drive anything they want. Someone like Travis Pastrana also, I think, is one of the greatest drivers in the world. Ken Block, one of the greatest drivers in the world. That's just going with the rally side and all that stuff. But guys who are well in tune and can kind of do other disciplines. Those guys I think are the most adaptable, and therefore I feel like they are the best drivers in the world. And Sebastien Ogier fits that to a T. Yes, rally has been his strong suit, and yes, it is probably going to be what he is most well known for, but I'm pretty sure he has done other things other than just rally. But of course, that's what he is known for, so therefore that's what the hell I'm going to talk about. That's what I'm going to research. That's about, all our research, really. Now, Monza, it was sketchy, I should say, real sketchy with tricky conditions. At 1 minute at the first stages, it was rain, okay, mud, dealing with that kinds of stuff. Like I was watching the actual on WRC Live, the actual channel or whatever. I was actually watching the race as it happened, as Elfyn Evans had taken on one of the stages and he had slid off. I'm pretty sure it was just in a shakedown, so it wasn't really too bad. But he was, just getting a feel for everything and lost traction and for seemingly nothing. He had it all under control, so I don't necessarily know what exactly was happening with him, but it seemed kind of odd. It seemed like, a lot of guys, and when the actual, stages began and the actual events began, you could see guys were definitely struggling with grip, and and I'm not even getting to the mountain stages yet. I'm not even getting there yet. I'm just talking about, on the actual, with the tarmac, as well as the dirt and the mud that people had to go through. Those conditions, some guys were just a little bit, too on it, basically. They were just a little bit too on it, and that ended up causing them some traction issues. I think I forgot who it was. I believe it's Neville. I'm not 100% sure, but somebody ended up hitting a gate, a fence or something like that, and that cut off like a whole 40 seconds off of their time or something like that, or they added 40 seconds to their time, and things like that. And those kinds of things, and water, standing water. This one actually took Neville out for a championship fight. He had went into standing water and went into that pretty slow, I should say, and that had caused too much water to be intake and all that stuff, and go into the engines and all that, and flooded the engines, and he was completely out of the race. Had to be towed off, which was definitely detrimental, because he could have brought some fire and could have brought some heat to that title, to Ogier's Bahrain. But I mean, either way, at that time, Ogier wasn't even certain that he was going to be, that he was basically sealing a championship at that time. But Elfyn Evans and Neville would have definitely been on their behinds if he had stayed in that stage. So that was definitely something that really hurt. You could see the emotions that get carried into motorsports sometimes, and this was definitely one of those moments, as well as with Elfyn Evans. Elfyn Evans, he had his own incident on now going into those mountainous stages where, snow, ice, tricky conditions, slush, all that stuff, that all accumulates, and he was a little bit over ambitious with his speed, and he ended up suffering an accident. Basically, he slipped off and tried to catch, but it wasn't all too well. He was going too fast, and he fell off to the side, and with the car too far away from the actual track to continue, and stranded basically, he could no longer participate in that stage. And of course, there were plenty of other accidents as well. Guys had crashed and all that stuff, and the marshals and all that stuff were able to clean off debris and whatnot in time. But then other crashes would happen, and sure enough, people crashed in the middle of the stages, a whole lot of brittle pieces and all that stuff all over the place. So yes, they had to cancel some of those mountainous stages, and they finished off with the power run. Toyota was definitely triumphant in that power run. I forgot his name, but I don't want to just say Asian, that's really generalization of who he is. God darn it, Sakata? I'm not 100% sure on the guy's name. But he really came together and put on a pretty good display. He was doing pretty good things, and he was definitely showcasing. I mean, in that last run, he came together and really proved that he could, do whatever was necessary. And it was nice to see. Moving, M Sport was definitely something that I followed, simply because of I had recently talked about their Rally 3 news and all that. So M Sport was definitely something I followed. I'm not necessarily sure how well they did in this. Hyundai won the Manufacturers Championship, so I'm not 100% sure where M Sport placed. But I know M Sport has won before, and M Sport Ford has won before. I guess I should make sure to include that. And they definitely have the ability to keep going and all that stuff. Obviously, they had talent such as, Seb Ogier at one point in time, and now they don't. But I'm pretty sure that they're going to end up coming back up, no problem. Now, other than that, everything's pretty much done for Monza. The next stuff that's really being talked about is Rally Monte Carlo. That's coming up in January, late January, I think January 24th or something like that is when the first day is going to be, and that I feel is definitely going to be fun. Now, Monte Carlo is notorious for those tricky conditions, and hopefully they're able to, it's not going to be too bad to where they have to, stop stages and nothing like that, and guys can full on compete and keep going. But, there's always that chance. There's always that aspect of things that can happen in rally racing that you can't find nowhere else. Guys can hit a tree. Like, where else can you find that in racing, and then you roll off of a cliff. I'll always stand by this. I always say that rally drivers are the best in the world, and I keep standing by it for as long as I live. And I'll say, it's man and machine versus nature. Now, in regular racing, there's usually other people with you. There's usually other competitors alongside you on the track, and that goes into that's really just like basically man versus man. versus man, basically. That's that competitive edge. But this is man and machine versus the world. Okay, you're taking on the track, the layout. Yes, you could have had some previous time with it and all that stuff, but it's you versus that track, that layout, those conditions that you not necessarily know about, and it's narrow, tight. You're trying to get, into these really tight and curvaceous turns and all that stuff in a nice and fast fashion as quickly as possible. And sometimes people put it all on the line, and sometimes people lose their lives. It's a time when it's not necessary for people to, I don't want to say it's not necessary. It's just that I wish it didn't happen. I wish lives were not lost in that sense. But rally drivers, to me, are the greatest in the world, and they will continue to be the greatest in the world for as long as rally racing is even a thing. It's, to me, it's definitely, it's something that I don't know. It's still competitive though, so I can't say it takes away from the competitiveness of actual, live racing, because it's still competitive, because you still have to beat the other people. But you gotta know what the hell you're doing when you're out there. Traction and all that stuff. It's not like on a track where you can predict how the traction is going to be. No, you don't know whether it's gonna be, you probably know whether it's gonna be tarmac or whatnot, but like you don't know whether it's gonna be slippery, dry, cold, hot, wet, whatever. Like on a track, you can figure that stuff out, and you can figure that stuff out before the race and try and prepare. And here you could try and, I guess, figure out what tires you want to use, whether you want to use tarmac tires, or you want to use gravel tires, or you want to use snow tires, or whatever beforehand. That's some stuff that you can do, and stuff that you could try to get in place. But for the most part, all those conditions can come in one package, can come on one stage. So you can't really prepare for it all that well. And you have to learn to adapt on the fly, and really, learn the discipline, and make sure you have that brake control and that throttle control, and make sure you know what you're doing. It's not something to play around with if you really want to rally. Especially at that level, the WRC level, whether that be junior WRC, WRC2, WRC3, and full-blown WRC, whatever, like the premier stage and the premier class. But like, it doesn't matter what stage in WRC you are. Like, that is the level. That is like that max. Obviously, there's a max within that max, but that is that max. You are at the tip-top level, and you need to know what the hell you're doing. And I'll go into like the amateur stuff. Yes, you could do sprint races. You could do sprint rally races, no question about it, no question whatsoever. And sprint rally races are not necessarily to the degree of this, because usually those conditions are staple. You could completely tell sprint rally races are very small. They're very small. It's not, super long where it takes 15 minutes to complete a stage. No, it's not. It's not like that. It's like maybe 2 minutes. Maybe, if that, like those kinds of and it's good. It's good. It's definitely good to learn stuff with that, and it's definitely good to get some new skills in place. But for the most part, it's not as complex as WRC is. It goes into, and they have a range of stages over the course of one weekend. Whereas if you're in a freaking sprint rally, it's usually just that one track. You might get different variations, but for the most part, it's always gravel. Okay, cool. It's dry gravel, no problem. All right, bet. Like, it's always consistent, and unless you go in different times of the year, but it's always consistent. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you go in the summertime, it'll be gravel, and maybe depending on where you are, if you go in the wintertime, it'll be snow and gravel. But for the most part, people are usually well adept to what the conditions are going to be. And WRC, it is the exact same thing. They are well adept to what the conditions are going to be, but they have to prepare and put on tires that they feel they're going to need to use more, or they feel that's going to perform much better. And it's just some of the greatest driving and you could possibly ever see. Some of the greatest driving and some of the greatest actual, people, some of the greatest drivers altogether. I've seen, drivers go from rally racing and be able to really participate in damn near every other discipline when it comes to regular car racing, aside from maybe Formula One, Formula Two. Aside from the formulas, I think I've seen examples of rally drivers participating in every other category possible, aside from the formula stuff. But I'm pretty sure if I look deep enough, I'll find it. So that's just my 2 cents on that. Like I said, Hyundai had won the manufacturer's title. Seb Ogier comes away. Seb Ogier and Julian Ignacier, they come away with the championship title for the Premier class. Jesus Christ, I was not paying attention to the WRC 3 or 2 or the junior WRC, but I'm sure, still props to those guys. If you want to know who won, by all means, head to my Twitter or my Instagram, head to my social medias. You'll figure out who won from there. I'll know by the time this episode comes out, obviously, but I don't know right at this moment. I didn't feel the need to know that stuff because I was a little bit too amped up, and this is coming at, weird times. I've been messing up my schedule with recording and uploading and all that stuff, and I don't like it. But episodes come out every Tuesday, so rock with it. And another thing that I kind of want to say is that I'm pretty sure I'm going to be recording way more. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be recording maybe 2 episodes a week rather than just 1. Because sometimes it be stuff that's happening that I really want to talk about and that I really want to put my 2 cents in. And don't get me wrong, I could make, specific topic videos that are really shortened down and scripted and whatnot, but I want to be able to freestyle my thoughts and just basically just hit record and just go like I'm doing right now. This is basically what I do. I've incorporated all the stuff that I've watched, all the stuff that I've read and all that stuff, and I could put that all in my head and just freestyle and go with it. Obviously there's some stuff on here that I try to make sure that I touch and whatnot, but like notes wise, but like I try to, cause I feel like if I'm too scripted, it comes off a little odd. But I like the organicness that I have, because I know, on an actual basis, my personality shines. I could let my personality shine even more, and this is definitely going to be one of those episodes where my personality shines. It's one of those episodes where I'm going to be talking and really freestyling my thoughts. Obviously, there are some notes down, because there always is notes down. I've never missed a time when I didn't put down notes. Never, ever. I always put down notes. I don't know. That's just the type of person I am. It's weird. You get hate it or love it. It doesn't matter. But what was I talking about? Gosh darn it. See, I lost my train of thought. I forgot what I was talking about. Oh yeah. Head on to my social medias to talk about if you want to see who the winners are, the WRC 3, WRC 2, Junior WRC, my Instagram and my Twitter. It'll be there by the time this episode comes out. So if you made it to this part, head on there. Oh, and hit that follow button. Hit the follow button on Twitter, hit the follow button on Instagram, and if you're on the YouTube version, hit subscribe, bro. But aside from that, what's going on for next season? I'm ready for next season, Seb Ogier plans on coming. He signed a contract to come back for next year with the intent, but that was with the knowledge that he wasn't going to be champion, because he didn't feel like he was going to be champion this year. But with next year having way more races and way more events than it did this year, I'm pretty sure he's going to stick with it, and I'm pretty sure he's going to try and go ahead and fight one more time and try and become champion. So that by all means is definitely something that I am here for, and I definitely want to see. There's no way in hell I'm gonna miss Seb Ogier. And number 8. I'm saying, like, what if he ends up really, pulling away with number 8? But it's probably going to be a time for Elfyn Evans to really come in and do everything that he needs to. Then there was like Tanak, which I wasn't keeping track of this year. I wasn't keeping track of WRC or for a long time, and but this is the finale, so I had to watch it. You know, like I had to tune in. So I definitely gonna be, you know, real more in depth, and like I said, I'm gonna have to start pumping out not only way more episodes, but way more content as a whole, and really get that stuff down. So stick with it. You know, it'll be coming out. It'll be coming, man, and I'll really be on top of the game. I'm trying to really manifest this channel into something different. There's gonna be some videos that are gonna be scripted, some things that are not, and hopefully I take off, you know, hopefully I take off, and hopefully I could actually grow. And obviously I'm gonna let my personality shine through this podcast. This is really my staple that I really want to grow the most. I want the Tarig Motorsports show to really, you know, increase in value, and not monetary value, more so, you know, listeners and the growing fan base. That is really the goal for this. That is really the goal for this. So, you know, share with your peoples, man. Share with your peoples and help me out. But Formula One, before I get into the actual Sakhir GP, I kind of want to just go over some quick bites of news. Jack Aitken makes his debut in Formula One at Sakhir. That's one. Bite number two. Mick Schumacher has signed with Haas F1 team. This should not be new news. If you are interested in Formula One or racing, motorsports altogether, you should already have heard this. But if you haven't, here I am to tell you. And if you haven't, remember where you heard. How did that go? Remember where you heard. Where you heard it. Remember where you heard it first. There you go. Remember where you heard it first. All right. And Pietro Fittipaldi also made his F1 real debut. And I'm going to talk about what those guys did, you know, in later. I'm going to talk about them a little bit later. Next is, you know, Romain Grosjean will not be returning for Abu Dhabi. I don't know why people felt like that was even something that should be discussed. The man needs to heal. It's better for him to stay out the rest of the season, come back strong whenever he comes back. If he comes back fully 110% rather than at 45 or whatever percent he's at now. You know, it's better for his health, and it's just better for him, man. Let him spend some time with his family and relax. He don't need to come back for racing. Yes, it would have been great to see him like basically go on a parade lap and whatnot in his final go and all that stuff, but there's no need for that. There's no need for that. Roman, we love you. Chill out, relax, heal up, all right? Now, like I said, I got some stuff on here. Lewis Hamilton was, I think I covered this in the last episode, but he tested positive for COVID. I don't know if y'all noticed, but he tested positive for COVID, and in the time frame that he has right now, he's trying to basically race back to health. You get me? Like, he's trying to make sure that he gets some negative results in time for Abu Dhabi. And you know, Abu Dhabi has, you know, having one of the most strict COVID regulations. Obviously for F1, they'll make exceptions and stuff like that because all that stuff is going to be relegated to that specific area. But that's still not. That's still my point. Okay, so basically Hamilton is being juggled between two governing bodies right now because there's Bahrain, okay, and he has to be able to pass their stuff to get out of Bahrain. Then from there has to pass Abu Dhabi stuff to get into Bahrain. So will he be to get into Abu Dhabi? So will he be there? Will he be racing in Abu Dhabi in time? Will he be well in time? Will he get those negative results in time for Abu Dhabi? Because if he wants to race, all he has to do is participate in either a qualifying or a practice session, and obviously the latest he could do that is what, Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. So he needs something by Saturday. Will he have it? I don't know. Is he gonna take that chance? I don't know. Would I love to see it just so I could talk a little bit of shit to some people? Most definitely. But that's neither here nor there. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Hopefully he does come back. Obviously that's, really what I would love to see happen. Everybody would love to see him come in. Nobody wants to see him with, suffer with COVID and whatnot and all that stuff. Nobody wants to see a driver suffer through that. But with him being out, it did bring some exciting and enlightening racing. It damn sure did. Don't get me wrong. The Sakhir GP is definitely one of the most simplest tracks I've ever seen. It's I don't want to say it's an oval, but it has been remarked as that from time to time. Now it's one of the simplest tracks. Now with that means that people are going pretty fast for the entirety of that track, but I don't know. I don't know what was my point of that. I don't know. Either way, going into the actual race. Like I said, some people made their debuts. George Russell, one of those people. Now George Russell was the favored driver of the day, being put in the F1 car coming from Williams, and really he was, that boy was talented in that race, boy. He was showing some real skill, showing some real talent, and showing some top tier real composure during the race. Wasn't angry, wasn't cursing anybody out. I mean, at the end he was. Well, he wasn't cursing people out, but at the end he was, emotions run. It wasn't necessarily anger, it was more sadness. That was really one of the biggest takeaways. But what I find is the ultimate biggest takeaway was the amount of skill he had, because not only once but twice was he able to actually get in fighting position for P1 and actually be on the podium and all that stuff. He did that twice. He was in first for damn near, for a large majority of the race. He was in first freaking place. Okay, let me start up. Starting off, he got the whole shot. George Russell got the whole shot, no question about it. Okay, from the get-go, he was already in first place, right? A couple turns later, Verstappen and Charles Leclerc are out of the race. I believe, Jesus Christ, Leclerc had hit Sergio Perez's Racing Point, and from there couldn't fix nothing or anything like that, and then he crashed into a wall. Verstappen was carrying too much speed. He didn't have contact with anybody, but Verstappen was carrying way too much speed and ended up, hitting basically the guardrail. Chico Perez spun out. Okay, this is like the main, if you saw any news about Formula One, the man, 190 fucking races, 190 races, and he finally got his first win. Finally. I think that's like the longest anyone has gone, but the longest anyone has been racing and hasn't gotten a win. The longest amount of starts. Now, last race, Bahrain GP, he most definitely had a podium in sight, and through some sheer bad luck, he was not able to get it. You can head back to my last episode and check that shit out. I did cover that relatively in depth, I should say. But coming here for the Sakhir GP, although it's still in Bahrain, it's just the outer circuit, the outer loop or whatever it's called. Sergio Perez got his first victory after 190 starts. After 190 starts, that's a crazy ratio, I have to say. But I'm proud of him. Props to him. That's great. This is ultimate appreciation right here. That's awesome. That's nice. That's good to see. It's good to see. I'm glad he was able to get that. Done and everything. And don't get me wrong. It wasn't luck. It wasn't luck that got him this win, because Mercedes messed up and Chico was able to, or Checo, whatever. Sergio Perez was able to, not only he spun out at the beginning of the race, by the grace of God, safety car came out. That I'd have to say is the luck part. The safety car was able to come out and people were not able to get away. So he was able to rejoin. Yes, he rejoined at the back of the pack, but he was able to rejoin the actual group at the restart, basically. That right there brought, that is the luck part. That right there is the luck part. But everything else he did in this race was pure skill. Now, I said I was going to talk about George Russell, but before I get to him, obviously I want to give the champion his props. I want to give the winner his props. That was pure skill on how he came back from 18th place, last place on the podium, and came into first. The man passed so many people throughout the duration of this goddamn race. It was impressive. It was impressive. Him and Lance Stroll had a little battle real quick, but ultimately Perez ended up passing him fairly quickly and moving on to the next guy. Lance Stroll was also pretty impressive, coming in at P3 and helping Racing Point get their first double podium. Props to him. Props to Racing Point. Good job, fellas. But Perez really showcased skill. Obviously, with someone who's been in for 190 races, there's some experience in there. And some talent, some skill. And Perez definitely showcased that, coming back from EP18, doing plenty of overtakes, doing everything, and in a pretty, great fashion, and way before the end of the race. It wasn't like it came down to the last nail biter lap. He was pretty much in the lead for a long period of time. And it's great to see. His future in F1 was a little askew. Not gonna lie, it was a little askew because, I think some contract or something like that is up next year, and he has no seat or something like that for next year. And nobody has really done any contract negotiations or anything like that with him. And I hope this really puts a lot to his favor. I hope this puts a lot. This backs him up a lot. Like, that was a skills-based comeback, not luck. It was a skills-based comeback. It was luck that he was able to stay with the pack at that point when that spin out happened and he had to go in and change tires. Thank goodness there was a safety car. But the fact that he was still able to come back from that deep of a position forward, that was impressive. That was impressive. Now, a thing that I have talked about was reverse grid races, and I never necessarily understood its intent. I never liked the idea of it. But this was kind of a reverse grid race for just Perez. And I mean, Perez wasn't in P1 or nothing like that, so he wouldn't be in P18, I guess, if that makes sense. But it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad, and I think in either Formula 2 or Formula 3, they're implementing reverse grid races. I have to look into it. I'll probably talk about it next episode. I have to look into it and actually, watch it and see how the fuck I feel about it and go from there. But seeing that comeback, seeing him go from that position all the way up, was pretty fucking. It was pretty exciting. It was pretty exciting. And, the commentary made it even more exciting, and just the conversations and all that stuff that was had. Great. Fantastic. But aside from him, moving on to George Russell, the man of the hour, the man of the week, the man of the week, day, whatever. Absolutely gutted was the word that was basically stapled across every goddamn article that I've read since the race actually happened. Was just absolutely gutted. George Russell, absolutely yada yada yada. Jack Aitken, absolutely whatever. Everybody was just gutted. Whatever. But looking into it all, man, did he do well. He did so well. Coming in at P1. Well, he started off the grid at P2, but he beat Bottas. You know what? I heard his name really being pronounced a lot. I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna say it how I'm gonna say it. Bottas is how I'm gonna say the man's name. He passed Bottas off of turn 1 and kept it going. Bottas swung wide a couple corners later, but Bottas stayed in second. And you know, from there, that's just how the race went until something happened. Tires. There was a tire issue with Bottas that occurred at some point in the race. Now, what that says, all that says is that, you know, I think it was Bottas had received I think Bottas had received Sergio's tires and they weren't happy with it or something like that. Or there was just a tire mix-up that went on with Mercedes and the Mercedes team that kind of messed up not only Bottas, but also Russell. And then later on, Russell suffered from, hold on. Like I said, Russell was in the lead. He was in the lead, right? And he was really showcasing his skill and showcasing that, yo, I'm with it. You know, I'm about that action. This is regular. Obviously, I'm pretty sure he went in there with some pressure and all that stuff. I think, you know, at some point there was a conversation with Toto Wolff, and you know, some of that pressure was relieved, obviously. But you know, going in there and showcasing that he's about it. Man, it was exciting to see. But that tire mix-up had happened. That cost him a few positions, but he fought back into that fought back into that battle, fought back into that fight. P2 behind Sergio Perez, right? And heartbreak, discomfort, dread. I don't know how the fuck to say it, but he had a slow puncture in, I believe, his back, one of the rear tires. He had a puncture. I think his rear right had a puncture, and basically had to pull off to get fresh tires. And you know, pulling off at that point in time to get fresh tires was not, you know, good. I mean, if you have a puncture, yes, it's good strategy. But if you don't have a puncture and pulling off in that time frame, it's not the wave. It's not, that's dumb. But it had to be done. It had to be done. He stayed out for as long as he could. It had to be done. But he fought back and was in P2, jumped to P1, stayed in P1 for a long period of time, stayed in first place for a long period of time. Went in, changed tires, all that stuff, still stayed in first. Changed tires, had that whole issue with Bottas behind him and whatnot. Okay, cool. Came back, did it again. This time P2 behind Perez. And then suffered that issue. Now he most definitely, I feel like he could have probably, this would have been definitely a battle that probably would have went on. If he didn't have that puncture or anything like that, it would have been a battle that would have definitely went down to the last lap. No question about it. No question about it. But it didn't happen. It didn't happen, and like every article says, absolutely gutted. Absolutely gutted. It was, and you know, in the footage that came out after of him, you know, laying down in the grass or whatever, or ground, or on the ground, and really running through the emotions. Then you could see that racing does something to you. It does something to you when you know you had it. You did everything you could, but the shit that you couldn't control is what messes you up. That does something to you. I covered this with the Super GT, man. The Autobahn Super GT, the final round at Fuji. Oh my goodness. In the GT500 class, yo. I keep saying it, GT500, not GT500, Super GT, most exciting racing I ever watched. But going back to George Russell, he absolutely gutted. And I don't really have much else to say to that. You know, it was plastered all over Instagram, social media, Twitter, whatever. And just something that's disheartening, basically. You could see the emotions and the effects that racing has on drivers and the team, I guess. And Mercedes knew they fucked up. They knew they messed up badly. They were apologizing like a mother. When he finally crossed the line, there were some people apologizing. Definitely some people apologized. Sorry, like, oh man. But man, did he show his mettle that day. He showed that he's ready for. He showed that he belongs. And with that, I kind of want to ask a question. Is Bottas in jeopardy for 2021? I'm pretty sure he has signed for 2021, and Hamilton doesn't look like he's leaving, F1. But I mean, for 2022, does Russell kind of have a guaranteed seat? Like, because Bottas was definitely not. He didn't perform like he normally does when he's with Hamilton, and even then, I mean, Hamilton is still bounds ahead of him. But that's not the point. Is Hamilton and Russell a way more compatible option for Mercedes than Hamilton and Bottas? I don't want to call him butt-ass. Bottas, I'm gonna just say it how I say it, all right? Hamilton and Russell, is that more compatible than Hamilton and Bottas? Because obviously we can't just base all this stuff off of one race. We need to see way more stats. We need to see way more races. Like, you can't say that this guy is the fastest guy in the world because he won one race, he's got to do it again and again and again and again and really showcase that he has these skills. But we won't necessarily get that unless Hamilton doesn't race. Like, if Hamilton's COVID tests don't, if they come back positive again for Abu Dhabi, then we may be able to see if George Russell can showcase that skill once again. And I honestly believe that he can, and I believe that he will. And if the situation presents itself, he's going to definitely execute the same thing that he did in the Sakhir GP. Simple as that. Now, Esteban Ocon, he finished second. Lance Stroll, like I said, Lance Stroll was a Racing Point. He came in third, which gave Racing Point their first ever double podium. That's really all I have to say. Esteban Ocon, his career with Formula One is slightly in jeopardy. No, it's not. Never mind. But this podium gives him a huge confidence boost. Obviously, I don't want to say he lucked into this. He didn't luck into it, but it's great that he took advantage of Mercedes' mistakes and was able to stay in the fight and stay in the race and ultimately come in second. Same thing for literally everybody else. As simple as that. Daniel Ricciardo, he's one of my favorites. I don't know. Daniel Ricciardo for the entirety of the season has been consistent. Is the word, has been consistent. He hasn't done those big leaps and those big jumps where he's like first place, second place. I mean, I think he came in third at one point in the season, but I think that was by chance. If Bottas was still in the race in that one that he came in third for, I doubt if Ricciardo would have gotten that for Renault. But that's for another day. He has stayed consistent, and I say this meaning I think he's been in points contention, and he has had consistent points ranging from, I think, 10th place and up to third. He has stayed in that bracket for the entirety of the season. And I feel like it should be talked about way more than it is talked about. And I know that Ricciardo is not going anywhere for a period of time. And I think I'm going to take a deeper dive into Ricciardo at some point in time and figure out exactly how his career panned out and how he got to this point, as well as, you know, other things, and really dissect Ricardo. I don't know if I'm gonna do episodes or anything about it or anything like that. This might just be for my own personal journey, and my own personal discovery. But I want to check into that. Put a note on it. Some other stuff, like I said, Aitken and Pietro Fittipaldi, they had their debuts. They did not well. I don't know how else to sum that up. But for who they were, they did pretty decent. They kind of just showcased that, hey, this is a learning experience for us, and we're going to use it as such. And I think that's honestly their best bet. In the cars that they have, it's not necessarily fully, 100% competitive with the leaders of the pack and whatnot. But this is learning experience. This is time to, like I said, seat time is the best time. So this is basically seat time, but on millionaire top tier level. So they're just getting, the hang of things and all that stuff. I think they only have this for this race and possibly the next race, depending on if Hamilton comes back, and then that would dictate George Russell's situation and all that stuff. So it's a lot riding on a couple COVID tests. And some government decisions as well. But I'm kind of proud with Jack Aitken. He definitely, I didn't expect him to do nothing great. I didn't expect him to do anything special, but I like the fact that he stayed in and he did a couple good overtakes. Ultimately to be overtaken again at some point in time, or to lose that place due to to restarts and whatever. But I like what I saw. And Kvyat, Kvyat, he's not a debut guy, but stepping away from them too. Fittipaldi did all right. I don't know what it's. I didn't have much for Fittipaldi. Like I said, this is just a learning experience for them, and seat time is the best time. So by all means, use that seat time, get that experience, get the reins that you need. Nobody's expecting anything great. They're just expecting you to perform a little bit, and maybe just learn and learn as you go, and find your rhythm and find your pace, whatever. That's basically what people are just expecting from that. So by all means, I think they did that well. But Kvyat had a damn near perfect race. In my personal opinion, he's not someone that I spend a lot of time on, but watching the race and going back at it, he was someone that I feel like could have gotten maybe a podium or something if it wasn't due to some bad timing. Basically, he had pitted just before a safety car had came out, and that result, and he had pitted with the strategy of staying on after other people were pit and all that stuff, and catching up and going past, but. That wasn't necessarily the greatest timing, because the safety car literally came out, I think like on that same lap or on a lap later or something like that. It came out very soon, and the efforts were low. And I think he finished with 7th place, P7, I think, either P7 or P8, something like that. And but altogether, still an impressive drive, and I'm thinking he did well. Stepping back to George Russell, Max Verstappen has been a breakout talent. Someone who I think is going to, who should get, someone who I think should have a ton, who I think deserves championships. Someone who I think has the talent, skill, the drive, all the necessary components, has the car, all that stuff for championships. No question about it. Hands down, Red Bull is the second fastest car. Simple. Now with him going out, Albon, oh my goodness, Albon, I told you like 2-3 episodes ago that you need to step your game up, or else you're gonna lose your job. I told you about this, Albon. I told you. With Max Verstappen out, it was on you to pick up the pieces and really put together an impressive display, an impressive drive, and you didn't fucking do that. You didn't do that. But hey, I'm not you. I'm not a professional. I'm not in that realm. Whatever. I don't drive anymore. You know, cool. Things may have happened. Understandable, but man, this don't look good for your resume. It don't look good. But like I said, Max Verstappen, you know, Red Bull is the second fastest car in business. And Max Verstappen is definitely someone that I see who's going to be chasing down championships later on. And with what we just saw at the Sakhir GP, George Russell is going to be a talent that's going to be there, depending on if he's in a good car or not, that's going to be there to really showcase a big battle or really you know, bring some heat to the racing world, to the motorsports world, to the Formula One world. And you know, it's gonna be, I feel like at some point in time, maybe in the next 5 years, it's gonna be a real thick battle between Verstappen and Russell, especially with the display that he put on at Sakhir. He definitely opened his eyes to Toto and people at Mercedes. Just throwing that out there. Just throwing that out there. Now, I'm not sure if I mentioned, but I said I was going to be talking about Audi. Real quick, nothing too serious. Audi is coming back to the World Endurance Championship, but they are leaving Formula E, something that they backed from since the start. And after 7 seasons, they're leaving. Why? Well, I guess if they're going to go into WEC, they got to cut somewhere, but why Formula E? Here's the reason that I discovered. It's basically because Formula E has basically lived up to its expectations. It's at where it's going to be at. Formula E has served its purpose, so to speak, because it was, you know, more race car and more manufacturers and all that stuff, and more, you know, people are making that transition to electric vehicles. Formula E was made kind of to bring up that awareness and all that stuff and kind of bring the excitement to electric cars, and that's exactly what he did. So Audi, feeling that that is the purpose that has now been filled, moved their works to WEC and back to the LMDH or whatever the hell it's called, LMP, whatever, stage of the WEC. And honestly, I'm glad they're back. You know, other companies, I think Porsche might also be, I don't know when Audi is actually going to be making that, but it's actually going to be coming back. It might be 2022 rather than 2021. And Porsche also left, but hopefully, being that Audi and Porsche are sister companies, Porsche is going to be coming back to the WEC. I would love to see it because I love Porsche. I don't really care what category or whatever or what race they're in. I just love them. Whatever. But I would love to see it. I would love to see all that stuff come back, and I would love to see them, you know, race and really be tip top in whatever category, no matter what the category is, whatever, no matter what the discipline, no matter what the sport, no matter what the anything, you know, no matter what the category. I would love to see them come back and race. I think that's it for the show. That's all the notes I had. So peace out. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful week. If you enjoyed, remember, rate this show 5 stars if you're on. All right. I could tell you, if you are on Anchor, Breaker Audio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and of course Spotify, rate this show 5 stars. Rate this show 5 stars and make sure to share with your peoples. I don't care what you're listening on, and I don't care how you're listening, but you rate it 5 stars because I'm trying to grow. That's really the only answer that's really the only reason I can give you. I'm just trying to grow, man. Just trying to grow the channel, grow the show and grow the channel at the same time. It's a little difficult because this is what I put on the channel. So I kind of have to grow this in order to grow the channel. But there's other stuff that's going to be going to the channel. So head over to my YouTube channel at youtube.com/. That actually might not work. There'll be a link in the description for the podcast version. And if you're on the YouTube version, just go down and hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell to join that notify me squad or whatever of new uploads. Whatever YouTubers say nowadays. The bell, yeah. That shit. Peace. Have a wonderful day. And I think I should leave with a quote or something. I think I should leave with like a motivational quote or something like that. I don't know. I want to start doing that. I don't know why. Something. Hopefully this doesn't come out stupid, and hopefully I actually do it well. Normally I'm really good at these motivations. Like I could come up with something real good. Like motivational speaking is something that I do on a semi-weekly basis. I think. Damn, why is it so hard now? I think it's because I don't have people in front of me. I think that might be what it is. I think it's because I don't have people in front of me. But hey, fuck it. I don't know. I'll come up with something for next season. Not next season, for next episode, man. Peace out. Have a wonderful day. I love ya. Like I said, rate the show 5 stars, man. That's the best way to help out the show. It helps me move out the algorithm and gets new listeners in here. And also, be sure to share with your friends. Be sure to share with your people. Share on your social medias. If you enjoy it, definitely, it costs nothing to share. It costs nothing to like a photo or anything like that. And follow me on my social medias, man. Follow me on Twitter at TheBigTicket07. Follow me on Instagram at, what's my name? Tarig. It's the same spelling as the actual, like the logo picture that you'll find for the actual podcast. So just look for that, or TARIGWALDRON, whatever. Peace out. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful week. Have a wonderful weekend. I'm gonna edit this, kinda, not really, because I'm just gonna put together some music, call it a day. But there will be a whole lot of content coming out later on this week on the YouTube channel, so don't be afraid to head over there and subscribe. Please, I'm trying to grow on YouTube. Help me out, as well as this podcast. Help me out. Peace out. That's it for me.
Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed, consider hitting that subscribe button. If you want to check out any more of my content, head down to the description box down below. And remember, you only have one life. Go out there and enjoy it.